All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Kachalis, and I am the Director of Strategic Insights for Furniture Today. And I'm going to be your host for today's webinar, Spend Your Marketing Dollars Smarter. We have a lot of great insights to cover on the webinar, and I'm very excited to introduce our speakers for today. But before we get started, there's a couple of housekeeping items I'd like to go over. During the webinar, if you have any questions, please submit them in the questions section in the panel of the right-hand side of your screen. At the end of the webinar, we'll take 10 to 15 minutes to answer any questions that you might have. If at any point you have any technical problems during the webinar, we ask you to please try logging out and logging back in, or you could send questions in the chat box to a member of our technical team, and they can answer your questions. And finally, if you registered for today's webinar and you missed a segment of today's presentation, there will be a recording link that will be emailed to all registered attendees upon completion of today's webinar. All right, now that that's covered, I'd like to introduce today's speakers. Our first speaker is Laura Zemer. Laura is Strategy Director of Target Data, partnering with clients to deliver people-based insights and strategies for achieving their business goals. Next, we have Kara Wallace, who is Vice President of Marketing for the Midwest furniture retailer, The Roomplace. She's responsible for leading all aspects of marketing, including campaign development, creative direction, and implementation of marketing activities. Finally, we have VP of Client Services for Target Data, Jennifer Strojan. Jen works intimately with Target Data's entire client base, helping them grow revenue through people-based marketing. We're now ready to start, and Laura, I'm going to open it up to you for the webinar, and you can begin your presentation.
Great, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Laura Zemer, Strategy Director for Target Data. We're delighted to be here with all of you today, and we especially want to thank Kara Wallace, our partner and friend, for participating with us. So as marketers, we have long benefited from the power of media. We target audiences in our advertising. We tailor creative messages and offers to the unique characteristics of each tactic. Today, we are moving toward true people-based marketing, defined as a one-to-one conversation with a specific consumer. This approach allows us to create more innovative and intimate moments with our customers. But we find ourselves burdened by increasingly fragmented marketing landscapes filled with platforms that don't talk to each other, programs that overlap or compete with one another, and metrics that fail to help us identify competitive advantages or overall customer and business value. At the same time, we are living at the midst of an inflection point as technology transforms the power and potential of data and media. Technology gives us, as marketers, the ability to put into practice what direct marketers have done for years: marketing to the known. We can now create more meaningful moments than ever, across every channel, every device, at any time, all uniquely designed for a specific real person. This leaves many of us asking an awkward question: how do I do it? So today, we are going to give you an example of how to do it and leave you with 3 specific takeaways. First, how to use your customer data to make your advertising more addressable. So targeting specific people, not audiences or segments. Secondly, how to make your customers' experiences more personal. Since you're targeting actual people, you can make the messages more relevant to them. And thirdly, tying your marketing results to actual transactions, not clicks, CPMs, or guesswork. I will now turn the program over to Kara Wallace and Jennifer Strojan. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Laura. This is Kara Wallace over at The Roomplace, and I just wanted to begin by telling everyone a little bit about The Roomplace for those of you who are not familiar with our company. We are a 105-year-old family-owned company, and we have 26 furniture and mattress locations throughout Chicagoland and Indiana, and also have a fairly robust e-commerce business that continues to expand. Our current marketing budget is really spread across online and offline channels. So everything you would think of: TV, radio, circular, emails, social media, along with programmatic display. However, I guess it's worth noting that really up until a couple years ago, we had really only focused on TV and print. And like so many other retailers, we were never really sure what channels were most effective or what drove people to shop. We were really just focused on broad segments and audiences without a whole lot of specifics or details. So for example, TV was targeted towards women 25 to 54. The data that we did utilize and have access to really just provided basic metrics like overall traffic, sales, and conversion numbers. We really had no reference point on what drove customers to shop. So maybe they saw one of our commercials, or perhaps they received a print circular in the newspaper, or maybe even received a recommendation from friends or family. It was never really clear. We knew we needed to expand into more trackable channels and focus on more people-based marketing, but frankly, I didn't even really know where to begin or how to do it with our existing resources and partners. We're always being challenged by our executive team on how to drive traffic in non-holiday periods. We are competing against an ever-expanding competitive set, and of course, looking to go after new customers. We knew that what we were doing and what we've always done was no longer the only and even the best way to reach people. I guess I should say the bulk of my experience has really been in mass market direct marketing, and I knew we needed to better leverage our customer data and transactional data, but frankly wasn't even sure how to do it. I knew the technology was out there, but it was really overwhelming on even thinking where to start, especially with the limited resources we have on hand. So our goal to start was pretty simple. We just wanted to leverage technology and data and begin to target specific customers based on key learnings from that data. A buzzword that we hear a lot about today is people-based marketing, but really what is it and how do you do it? Its formal definition is delivering an omni-channel customer experience by recognizing real people across channels and devices. At the ROAS, being a 105-year-old company, I knew that we had so much customer data, but wasn't really sure what to do with it. And even more than that, how to make it actionable, how to make it understandable, and apply it to what we were currently doing in our marketing efforts. At first, it's an overwhelming thing to think through how this would all work together, specifically with what we were already doing and comfortable with, but knew we needed to get the right mix of technology, data, and execution to make this work for the ROAS. The key was getting our data structured appropriately because it was really just kind of all numbers to us at that point, and then understanding where we could leverage it to be the foundation for both our marketing strategy as well as identify who we were targeting and ultimately how we measured success. So we began working with Target Data a couple years ago, and the first step was really just to kind of give them all of our data, all of the files to work through, which was a huge undertaking. And I have to say they made it look really easy. I was really impressed with how they were able to take all of the customer files and information, which is, gibberish from my perspective in many ways, and really provide it back in an understandable and usable format. One mistake that I personally was making was I was thinking of this as more of an IT project rather than a marketing initiative. So what they came back with was a database that was specifically designed to optimize our marketing programs and really inform the strategy of how we market both to broad and targeted audiences. Once our data was in the right place and was kind of understandable to all of our internal teams here, Target Data made it simple for us to quickly gain a deeper understanding of our current customer through a combination of data as well as thousands of customer attributes that we had never had access to before. Who were the groups of consumers we wanted to target? How did they behave? What was the profile of our best customer? What's the difference between a customer that only purchased a mattress and maybe someone that had a higher lifetime value? Once we understood our current customer base to this level, we were then off and running pretty quickly. Campaigns were developed to target specific people for specific reasons. So for example, if we wanted to drive mattress sales or target customers who had more of a propensity to purchase online, this was now possible. Jen, maybe you can outline kind of the modeling that we did with the test and learn approach that we've used.
Sure, absolutely. So first of all, Kara, thank you for the compliments, and you know more about data than you think you do, so don't underestimate yourself too much here. So as Kara indicated, once the data was in the right place, this is where we now had the solid foundation to work from. We were able to select people to target based on a number of attributes. And then we began aligning media to spend to these specific consumers based upon the various business goals of the ROAS. Response rates soared when we did this because we started targeting specific people based upon their score and propensity to take action.
And I think that was the part that was hard for me to grasp, was how was this different than the list buying that we had done or different segmentations we had tried in the past. In every instance that Jen just described, we deployed a specific media to a group of people and individuals, and we were looking for a very specific response.
So Kara, what you point out here is key, because the way that we think about it, and as do you, I think, it's really a shift in thinking from a focus on media channels to a focus on individual people. And each person is going to respond differently to different types of media. I mean, take you and I, for example. I know that I consume most of my media through social channels like Facebook, and whereas speaking with you, you tend to get a lot of your media through TV and television and radio.
I'm older than you.
You're not that much older than me. But, you know, the key thing is the mix of media we use to activate these people is really tweaked by a robust test and learn strategy. We know that not all customers are created equal. We also know that we can go and spend an enormous amount of the ROOMplace's money on one specific channel, but ultimately drive the wrong type of transaction for you. We wanted to, and now we can make sure that all of your channels are focused on the right consumer for a specific purpose. So how about we focus on one specific solution that we've recently developed with you and your team to make this more tangible for everyone?
Absolutely. You know, I think a good example that we can use for today's discussion is talking about our flash sale customer. So this is really a huge breakthrough for us on how to drive urgency through our promotional offers. You know, in the past, we were always focused on longer term sale periods. They typically would last somewhere between 2 to 3 weeks. And we always promoted them via TV and print circular and other more traditional channels. You know, we knew our message was connecting with some of the right people, certainly, but we also assumed and knew that there was a fair amount of waste. This was one of our initial goals, to be able to optimize the media mix and focus specifically on these customers.
Great. So let's talk about the flash sale. And I know this was somewhat of a change for your overall thinking on the marketing team,
Sure.
because we were going to focus on a shorter period sale.
Mm-hmm.
So the first step, as you know, when working with you and the team, is a planning session between the ROOMplace marketing team and the team at Target Data, which consists of the analytics team, strategy, and client services group. This allows us to really have a conversation with you to understand what you're trying to achieve, get some insight into what's going on within the business, and then we had the ability to share the modeling and the learnings from modeling your data. So for instance, big question that we were able to talk through is what made these flash sale customers unique? And you know this is a crucial question. Very few consumers will shop for furniture on impulse. So we can be more effective with meeting those ready to buy for a specific reason. And these reasons can include moving or having a baby. Mm-hmm. Or in this particular case, those who are willing to take advantage of a deep and short-term offer. So we identified over 1,000 unique attributes that made your flash sale customers unique and different from all your other customers. And then we modeled these customers against all the households in the Chicagoland area, as well as Indianapolis, to find the people who had a high propensity to purchase during a flash sale. Once we had the specific list, then we were able to really talk to you guys about the framework of building the campaign. So specifically, what type of media would they most likely respond to? What offers should we incorporate to pique their interest and get them to buy? And then how should the ROOMplace build the creative to generate a reaction from these consumers?
Yeah, I have to say it was really eye-opening for us to see how these potential flash sale customers were really different from our other customer base. An additional benefit for us was really identifying how people consume media. You know, we all know, we've heard stories about that the way that consumers are engaging with media is rapidly changing. So traditional TV, for example, does not necessarily drive the results that it used to. People are unplugging from cable TV and are watching in other ways. So something that was really valuable to us, especially with the changing landscape, was to have a better understanding of media attentiveness. Our typical practice in the past was select the media and then hope people would respond. However, we can now deploy an addressable campaign aligned with these specific customers and know how they're going to respond to the media in their day-to-day lives. So in this flash sale, for instance, we focus on programmatic display and addressable direct mail. We also used insights from the model to inform our creative. We incorporated a countdown clock to emphasize the limited time to act, you know, tying into the flash sale. So we tested one version that prominently featured that offer, the discount, and then another one that emphasized more of our stylish offerings. So a test and learn approach there. And then we were really hoping that the learnings would inform larger scale efforts in the future. It was important to learn which message would resonate most and then be able to use that information for future rollouts. The flash sale campaign in this instance was in market for a week. It went across all 26 of our stores and to a select group of 100,000 people. those that were identified with the highest propensity to shop a flash sale. All of the addressable solutions that we executed are 100% measurable because in this instance, we started with an actual person, which is very different for us, and not a cookie or a segment.
So Kara, I feel like we need a drum roll here or something, but you want to talk about the results? So, which were great for this campaign. And first, just to make sure we're all on the same page, as Kara mentioned, this was a multi-channel tactics campaign, which included addressable media and display on mobile and desktop devices. We started with the actionable list of individuals, which was key to the success of this campaign. We could then bring them online and send direct mail to them as well. So what this means is we were able to identify Bob Smith of Naperville as someone who has a high propensity to become a high-value flash sale customer. And then we were able to load Bob Smith to receive the direct mail piece, as well as the display ads online. So then when you think about the reporting, because we started with Bob, not only were we able to have a conversation and talk to you about, did Bob purchase, but we were able to talk about, did Bob purchase online or in store? And did he buy a bed or did he buy a chair? And what did he spend? And most importantly, what tactics influenced his decision and how did he respond to the offer? So in addition to that information and those learnings, again, because we started with Bob and we know the media that he received, we were also able to talk to you about the incremental sales that this campaign drove, incremental return on ad spend, and incremental purchases, because we know all those metrics are extremely important to you and your senior team. So in this campaign, the incremental return on ad spend was over 700%, and we generated incremental revenue as well. And the only way to be able to do this is to measure down to the household to know exactly what the media drove. And Kara, as you know, planning and measurement goes hand in hand with any type of initiative where you're targeting individuals. This approach, how we took this approach with this campaign, if you think about it, it's going to help you guys continue to drive your business and figure out what is actually going to drive your business. And then when we look at the results by media channel, we saw some interesting learnings as well, in the sense that direct mail alone generated a higher than average order value, which again, we know order value is very important to you guys. And this was likely because when people shop in store, they tend to spend more as they're interacting with the sales associates. In addition to the higher order value, we also saw that this had a greater incremental return when they received the direct mail. So now, not only do we have a better understanding about Bob, who Bob is and what he purchased, but now we can start to understand the combination of tactics that resonated most with these individuals. So we can continue to optimize this for future campaigns and help make budget recommendations using media attribution. Oh, and Carol, one more thing. Back to your message testing that you referenced earlier. For this specific campaign, we actually saw both versions move the needle. So the stylized version and the offer. So now it's great because we're able to work with your internal team to figure out how to incorporate both of these message strategies in creative moving forward.
Yep, and also a benefit that we realized were these learnings were valuable to many of our agency partners to understand and leverage to better execute on their own individual objectives. At the Roomplace, we've always looked at our agency partners as an extension of our marketing team. We have, limited internal resources. But frankly, we've struggled on how to integrate all of the different players and how to get them to play nicely in the sandbox.
Sure, absolutely.
Target Data has really been a great partner in helping bridge those relationships, which, as Jen knows very well, can sometimes be a little bit contentious. The key to this integration, if you will, is that Target Data is able to provide our agency partners with usable data and learnings that's helpful to them to better understand how they can support their ultimate goal of driving the Roomplace business. And that's been incredibly helpful for really everyone involved. What's also been really helpful for us is understanding and working with the team to set goals for each campaign prior to launch, and then also being able to continue to measure and learn against those objectives throughout the different campaigns. This way, we not only know how much revenue we're driving at the end, but did we hit, exceed, and frankly, sometimes even miss the goals, and what learnings can we take away from that for future campaigns and initiatives. So, you know, as I say all the time, Jen, the proof is in the pudding. So in particular, the results that we've had to date show how finding the right person and delivering a message tailored to their needs and wants motivates someone to act when maybe they otherwise would not have. So not only do we know our results for each campaign, but through a series of visual dashboards, and visual is always helpful for me, is to make it easy for me to understand, you know, when people receive one tactic versus another, or perhaps by a sofa instead of a mattress. The dashboards also make it easier to have a conversation internally. You know, people always gravitate towards the visual, especially in other departments or with our executive team, so we can talk through results and findings, and it's all in one place and makes a whole lot of sense.
Kara, I really appreciate that you say your comment about we help bridge the relationships with your other partners.
True.
Well, I appreciate that. It's truly important to me that we have a collaborative relationship with your team and your partner agencies, and it's a very transparent relationship as well. You know, I find it's very necessary to be transparent with you about all aspects of the campaign and your partners, including when the campaign's initiatives don't work, because we don't want to continue to do something that's not driving the results.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it was great when we got to sit down with your paid search team for the results of the flash sale and help them figure out how they can leverage this for their keyword campaign. So we were able to show them that these zip codes had the highest concentration of customers, and they incorporated this into applying of their geo filters to hopefully maximize and drive higher results for you guys. And then, you know, we also sat down with your internal email team, who has been, you know, continuing to run emails to people for limited time promotions. So we were able to have the conversation with them about the learnings on the creative and messaging strategy we use that they could apply moving forward.
That's right. As you know, as Jen knows, it's not always about spending more money either. It's about spending the budget we do have in more effective ways. So since the initial campaign with the flash sale customers was successful, we've really expanded the number of individuals we're reaching out to with this offer and have these types of sales integrated throughout our marketing plan for the entire year. It's just added another lever that we can pull when we need to for those short-term offers. There are other audiences that were less successful perhaps and that we've chosen to taper back on. It's great to be able to see what we've learned through the addressable efforts can be applied to creative and messaging and other programs in other ways. So for example, we provided audience insights and targeting guidance to our social media team that's handled by a different agency for the groups of the likely flash sale customers identified by target data so they can further their reach and reaching those customers as well.
So it's great that we can say with confidence that going into an outreach with a group of individuals, whether or not we'll have a likelihood of success, which is incredibly important to us and to you and the team at the ROAS. But as Kara knows, and you know this, we will be the first to reach out and be proactive and communicate when the model's not yielding strong results or we're not being successful driving incremental business, because we don't want to continue to pursue those initiatives, and we want to make sure that we spread that learning across all of your channels. Which is the great part about starting with some test and learn initiatives, is that we can invest marketing spend wisely and scale where we see the most opportunity for you, but then quickly eliminate what's not working or driving results. So Kara, I think it was a couple months ago at this point, we sat down and had our annual planning session. And you've mentioned recently you and the team have continued to have conversations about other addressable initiatives, other marketing initiatives to drive customers for next year. Tell me about some of those conversations that have been going on.
Yep. And I guess first I should say, Jen, that, you know, for this instance, we're talking about the best flash sale customers for our conversation today, but really we've been able to develop targeting for, you know, movers or people who have a higher propensity to buy mattresses, among other targets. But back to your question, we're also looking to expand our marketing channels to include addressable TV, which is new for us, pre-roll video, and some dynamic creative, just to name a few things over the course of the next 12 to 18 months.
So I think it's great that you and your team are discussing additional initiatives that would target individuals. But what does this mean for your broadcast and print circular tactics?
You know, that's a great question, because as I mentioned, it is such a big part of our marketing initiative. We know that broadcast and print circulars continue to drive a lot of our sales. So we don't want to turn these off, and we'll continue to move forward with these channels. we do know that through the data that these channels complement our addressable efforts. So they're really working in tandem together. And we'll continue to apply the insights from our customer data and campaign learnings to more mass media and non-addressable tactics. You know, we don't want to change completely. It's really kind of continuing to test and learn. So for example, we've learned so much about what offers are most effective that we can now incorporate those into, you know, our TV ads, for example, or maybe our store sales or whatnot.
I know it's been great as you've been opening up additional markets as well, trying to figure out how to spend wisely as you're building a brand in those markets and may not have as big of TV budget. So how do you do more targeted, focused media as well? So Kara, before we wrap today, any other thoughts, insights, advice that you want to share?
You know, I think what we've learned is it's not really about a specific campaign or offer or flash sale. It's really about going after the right people with the right message at the right time. And then I would also say, you know, we've done, with your help, so much testing and learning, and we can't say it enough, you can't be afraid to fail. So, you know, not everything is a success, but as long as you can learn from that and take those learnings in future initiatives, I think, you know, there's nothing to be afraid of, really. And then understanding who your target is and why you're going after them. So I think those are 3 pieces that we always try and keep in mind. It's really about the journey and not the destination for the overall, you know, tactics that we're taking here.
I think those are great takeaways. I think that's great advice to your fellow marketers. You know, I can't thank you enough for being here with me today. As always, it's such a pleasure speaking with you and hearing your feedback and insight into your business and what you're seeing in the industry. And I look forward to continuing to work with you in 2018 and the rest of your team and helping the Room Place grow.
Yeah, no, you guys have been a great partner, and we're so fortunate to be able to do these things and make it, you know, easy for our internal teams to execute on, and you guys always keep us on track. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Kara and Jen. We will now turn the call back over to Furniture Today to start the Q&A session.
Great. We're now going to open up the webinar for questions. If you've not already submitted your questions, you can now do so by inputting them in your question panel on the right-hand side of your screen. And with that being said, the first question that we have coming in is, what is the best way to get started? Our data is in a lot of different places. How do we compile it correctly?
So this is Kara. I can maybe take that and then Jen can elaborate. You know, we really didn't know how to get started. As you know, I mentioned we had so much data in different files and different formats and had used different systems over the years. So the target data team made it very simple just to provide the data in the format that we had it, and they were able to take it and do their magic with it. I'll let Jen explain that portion.
I like to use the word magic.
Yeah,
so as Kara mentioned, it's pretty simple in the sense that as long as there's customer data and transaction data, that's really the foundation that you need to start doing some in-depth analysis.
Okay, great. Next question we have here is, how would a people-based approach help us with mass media channels such as television, newspapers, circulars, and radio?
So I would say, and again, I'll let Jen elaborate on this a little bit, but it was really understanding, you know, who our customer was on a deeper level. I don't know that we understood that to the level before. As I mentioned, we'd always kind of looked at broad segments and audiences. So we've been able to understand where are our best customers and maybe target our, for example, print circular buy into those areas or zip codes and just make it a little bit more targeted. So in those instances, it's not a people-based approach, but using the learnings and the data to better inform our mass media initiatives and just become more targeted in those instances, and, you know, being able to know why you're doing something and just be informed in the decisions that you're making with the channels that you really don't have that much visibility to.
Sure, and Kara, I'd also say I know it's a frustration in speaking with you and the team about new audience. So, you know, everyone knows the millennial generation. Did your team start targeting them?
Right.
So by having the data and understanding who you're successful with in terms of purchases and driving revenue, you're able to leverage those learnings against your mass media, but then to start to test in some different audiences as well in some of your broader reach channels too.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, great. Looks like we have another question coming in. Have there been any surprises since starting to measure campaigns this efficiently? Was there anything that really jumped out as an outlier?
You know, I would say, this is again, Kara, the biggest surprise for us was the fact that we were able to track it. We were able to say, we launched this campaign and these people came in to shop. In the past, we could say, we launched, you know, X campaign, and over the course of those 4 weeks or, you know, 4 days, we drove X amount of revenue. But this was saying, these are the people we went after and they've made a purchase. So we're able to identify, they received our, you know, targeted display or perhaps direct mail piece and then came into our stores. In the past, we just knew from an overall perspective how much we were able to drive in revenue, but never knew why those people came in or what drove them to shop. So that's been a big surprise to us, just having that trackability and even being able to go back and say, this campaign drove X amount of ROI, and, you know, can I increase my budget for next time? Or just being able to make more informed decisions has really been a surprise for us.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, pleasant surprise.
Okay. All right, another question is, would I need to hire additional internal resources to be able to manage all of this?
This is what I have to say on this. You know, our team is very lean internally, and to be able to, I don't know that we'd be able to bring on enough people that knew how to do this. I think the target data team has done an amazing job of making this very simple for us. You know, pulling the data together, providing it back in an understandable format to a marketing team. And then also as we are working through campaigns, setting those objectives, keeping us on track, and even as much as providing timelines to our creative team that are creating the assets, like this is when we're going to need them, this is when we launch, and this is when we can expect a touch base or results on the campaign and how it's going so far. So we didn't hire any additional resources. Again, look at the team here as a extension of our internal marketing team, and they've been, you know, really great partners and resources, and you know, have made it easy, which has been so important to us. Just, you know, not only is it working, but it's easy to work with them and have that, you know, comfort level with the team and knowing that they're taking care of all of the heavy lifting.
Okay. All right, I have another question. Question is, I'm assuming the data began with your customers through the programmatic aspects. Were you targeting lookalikes? How were those results relative to your customers?
I will let Jen maybe talk about how we were targeting people.
Sure. So this is a great question. So it always depends on what we're trying to accomplish with the ROOMplace, for instance. There's a series of initiatives that we will run that are targeting their existing customers to drive additional lifetime value or to drive them in for a particular event. The reason that the customer data is also so important is this is the foundation that we can analyze to understand, you know, who someone is who looks like they would be more likely to be going for a flash sale, or someone who will spend a larger average purchase size. And then we ultimately understand who those particular people are, and we develop a model to find more people that look like them, since the ROOMplace has already been successful with that type of individual, and then we execute the media accordingly, all tracking it down to the individual level.
Okay. All right, I have another question coming in here. My digital agency tells me we use data all the time. How is this different from people-based?
So I think I'll let Jen maybe handle this again. Sorry.
No, you're
I'm not so good with this.
No, not at all. So couple things to keep in mind when you talk about, and there is a wealth of data available in the digital world. When you start with the individual offline, you're starting with a person, and typically a physical address and private information about that person and over 1,000 attributes about them. Because we're starting with somebody offline, I then know what media I serve to them and how they respond to it. But I also know that this person, they may be a female who's 35 years old, but there's many more things that make up this person that indicate and have certain triggers that would make them a better or not so much of a better customer for the ROOMplace. When you talk about what's available in the online world, again, there is a lot of data out there, but you're starting either with a segment. So female 35, but I don't know their buying habits. I don't know if they go on cruise vacations. I don't know what cars they drive. Or you're starting with a cookie. And when you work with a cookie, you're not able to track anything past that cookie. So it takes away the ability to actually have a comprehensive measurement of knowing the person you targeted, the media that they received, and how they responded to it.
And then I'll just chime in really quickly is the digital agencies don't typically use first and third party data. So the benefit has been that the team at Target Data has taken our data from our customers and information and then been able to layer that on top of the customer attributes that we didn't have access to. So while a digital agency might have access to one, they typically don't have access to both, at least from our experience here. So just another thing to add.
Great. All right, another question we have is, would this increase my marketing costs? How much of an investment is this type of strategy?
You know, we haven't increased our marketing costs at all over the last year. We have, from the learnings, adjusted and pulled out of some areas and deployed into more other channels. What we did do is we started small. So you can start with a really small spend and then see how your results are and build from there. So we didn't all of a sudden overnight change our strategy and just start to deploy all of these different campaigns and tactics. We really, as I saad earlier, the proof is in the pudding. So we joke sometimes that it's an unlimited budget as long as the results are there. Not really the case, but it always helps to just have that reference point and be able to, just move forward in that capacity.
All right. Another one we have here is, can you talk more about how you targeted potential credit customers? Did this really replace open to buy?
We do target some credit customers. We work with our credit bank around the open to buy. It hasn't replaced. We continue to go after all sorts of customers. And as I mentioned, we haven't pulled out of any initiative completely that we've been doing. So we're continuing print, we're continuing circular, we're continuing to focus on those customers we know use our credit card. So we haven't pulled out of one completely and continue to just help the data inform those decisions that we're making with other partners and just be more relevant in the messaging that we're providing those customers.
All right. Here's one hit. We got another one. How has this approach helped you measure your marketing spend better? Do you feel the investment has really paid off?
I do. As I mentioned earlier, the fact that we can attribute one campaign to one customer that they came in and shopped because they received it, has been a game changer for us. We never, as I have said several times, never really knew what was driving people to shop or why they were coming in. This has made it trackable, ownable, and everybody likes to use the data. So I can go into our CEO and talk to him and say, this is what we did, these are the results we've driven, this is the ROI on the campaign, and this is what we're going to do with that in the future. How do we make it better? What are our stretch goals? How do we reach them? And how are we tracking to that? So it's an ongoing kind of discussion that we are continuing to have, but it's been the trackability of it all, knowing who we're going after. And to be honest, I don't necessarily care if it's Bob Smith, but I do care that I'm able to say X person shopped and this is what he spent and this is how much the campaign drove. So that's been a really important part of this relationship for us.
And I think from our standpoint, the relationship with the ROOMplace, we know at the end of the day, it's about growing their business. It's really the revenue and adding customers to their database and driving more purchases so they can continue to open stores and be profitable. And we wouldn't be even having this conversation if the investment wasn't there.
Sure.
Because we know it's not about web visitors, clicks, and just engagement metrics for you.
All right. Next question we have is, can you talk more about the reporting capabilities that this type of approach provides?
Sure. So I'll have Jen talk about it in more detail, but the team provided us a marketing platform that we're able to go into. It's got all of our data, and again, I have to stress it's in an understandable format. So there are different screens that you can use to take a look at different geographies or different campaigns, or when you look at the overall year and what campaigns or offers were most successful. So having it be kind of a marketing-based platform has really been helpful for our team to use ongoing and be able to, hey, we're thinking about opening a store in this market. Let's take a look and see what the maps are telling us as it relates to who our best customers are, how many are in that area. So we use it in a lot of different ways. I'm not sure how the data all gets there. I'll let Jen speak to that. But in terms of how we use it internally, it's really a game changer, and to have one place with kind of all of our marketing initiatives, results, I guess we call it one, I don't even know what we call it.
Like a one-stop shop, I
yeah,
we could exactly. Or a single source of truth. Yeah.
Single source of truth, that was it. So yeah, we just know where to go to take a look, and as I mentioned, our different agency partners have also benefited from this information, and it helps them deliver on their objectives, and it's just been a really helpful tool for us. And you can speak to kind of how it all gets integrated into there.
Sure.
It's the magic again.
Yes, it's the magic again. So again, we've spoken about this in our conversation a lot today, about it all starts with the individual. The important piece to the success with our relationship with the ROAS and what we've been able to do is, again, it's all about, at the end of the day, do we drive more revenue? Do we drive more business for them? So it's a collaboration, and it truly is. We're on the phone weekly talking through setting the metrics, what the campaign execution is going to look like, what the strategy is going to look like for the message, the offers, how we're going to set benchmarks for success, and all the engagement metrics that we're going to review with you and the team, and the learnings to share. Because we were able to develop this platform, as Kara mentioned, the magic, or putting the data in a usable format, it's all very accessible, but it's also, we've created the visuals that makes it extremely easy for Kara and her team to quickly look, key takeaways, to be able to ask some tough questions in the executive meetings of, hey, we spent this much money, what did we get out of this campaign?
Okay. Well, it looks like we have one more question that came in here. It is, I've heard television can now be purchased in a data-driven way. Are you exploring this?
Correct. I think you're probably referring to addressable TV. So yeah, that is one of the initiatives we're talking about for the upcoming year. Again, it's scary to abandon our more traditional or linear TV buy. We'll continue that. It's been successful for us. But as I mentioned, and everybody probably knows, we're all consuming media, especially TV, in different ways. So we're interested to see, if we can test and learn on how this addressable market works. How do we go after customers that we know are our core customer or look like our best prospects, and have a TV, that's addressable has addressable capabilities. But yeah, no, that's an approach that we're definitely exploring for the new year, and are excited to kind of see how it performs.
And we were talking about connected TV as well, which might work in some of the smaller markets where we don't have as much coverage on addressable TV potentially. But I know your team was talking about the benefits of doing a connected TV play too, is getting into those Rokus and some of those other networks where the buys are just too expensive right now.
Yep. And, as I mentioned, people are connecting in different ways. So
Absolutely.
The Rokus and Apple TVs and whatnot are really kind of changing the landscape of media. As we, in the past, you used to be able to buy a certain number of points on TV and expect a certain result. And that's not the case anymore. So this just allows us to, be able to test something in a different channel that we've not done before.
Well, and to the right consumer, because we know that, not all people are going to be on the addressable TV channels, and sometimes based on age, based on household income, based on all those attributes, we can actually serve them the media that they have a high likelihood of responding.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, well, it looks like that's it for the question end, and this concludes today's webinar. I want to thank the speakers again today for their valuable insights. I also like to remind everyone that the recording of this webinar will be available and will be emailed to all registered attendees. And thank you again for attending, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their afternoon.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. Hope it was helpful.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.